Hello guys, this is Nat Blue with a new video. Today we are going to be looking at the new wizard for the 2024 Player's Handbook. So this will be going over the changes to the class along with the different subclasses. We are going to jump right into this. I've been having a lot of fun doing these types of videos, just reviewing the I clicked the wrong thing for a second. Reviewing the videos that D&D has been releasing. So we are going to jump straight into this.
Hello everyone, today we are talking about the wizard.
The wizard has all sorts of new magical goodies.
The wizard is maybe my least favorite D&D class. I'm not a big fan of them. They're so weak at low level. I hope that they did something to change that. But God, that artwork is cool, but I do not like wizards very much.
Some in the class, but many of them in the spell chapter. The wizard is the paramount collector of spells in D&D.
Todd Kenwick. I can never remember this guy's name. It is Todd Kenwick. Kenwick? I am bad at saying my R's, so I hope that sounds okay. I can't tell a difference, but I can never remember the name of this man right here. I can never remember his name, and it bugs me every single time I do one of these videos. So it is Todd. I'm going to write that on a sticky note. Todd. We're not going to try to say his last name again. He's just Todd. That is the Todd father.
They have the longest spell list of any class, and that list in the new Player's Handbook got even longer, which we were able to do partly because the spell chapter got even bigger, and many of them.
Did it need to get longer? I hate to be that guy, but the wizards already have so many spells, guys.
Those spells are for the wizard because spell access and spell versatility is the beating heart of the wizard class. And so, whereas other spellcasting classes, of course, also care about spells, but often their spellcasting is enhanced.
That is such a sick picture. This guy conjuring an arrow while he's being attacked by what looks like a troll, maybe? That is such a cool picture.
By a number of other features that they have that bring their distinctiveness, whereas the wizard's primary distinctiveness is a huge variety of spells at their fingertips. And so we just leaned into that even more. Just as in every class, we've leaned into what really makes a particular class shine, what makes it really exciting to the people who love playing that class. And so with the wizard, it is give us all the spells.
So much has changed with spells as well. There's a lot of quality of life improvements in so many of these spells. The wizard is consequently the most affected by that.
Exactly. And then the wizard has a number of new features and enhanced features that allow them to interact with that massive treasure chest of spells in the book with even greater versatility. So, for example, at first level, wizards now have the ability to change one of their cantrips every time they finish a long rest. No other class has this capability. To just every day be, no, I don't know a different cantrip.
I changed my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, that's a great example of how we're leaning into that breadth and versatility that is such a distinctive aspect of the wizard and always has been as one of the classes that has been in the game the longest. We have also, at first level, added a new feature called Ritual Adept. Now, functionally, this feature is not new. What this feature does is it allows the wizard to cast as a ritual any ritual that is in the wizard's spellbook. I say it's not functionally a new feature because wizards in 2014 had that capability. We decided, though, to take that capability, which used to be inside the spellcasting feature, and we broke it out into its own class feature because we realized that there were a number of wizard players who were missing the fact that they had that feature, because the spellcasting feature has a lot going on in it, and it can actually be easy to miss this little section about, oh, and hey, by the way, you're really great at using rituals.
To be fair, every wizard player I've played with has not cast rituals very often, so that's a nice change.
And we thought that was an important enough part of the wizard's identity, and really a separate bit of functionality from the base spellcasting feature,
Another cool picture. That is sick.
that we broke it out into its own feature called, again, Ritual Adept.
Perfect.
At second level, gave a truly new feature to the wizard called Scholar. And here, just as we have in several of our other classes where we've given people a bit more versatility outside combat. Now, not that the wizard needed a whole lot of help in that realm, because wizards, as a result of having so much spell versatility, have access to a lot of non-combat spells.
Yeah.
But we also, with the wizard, wanted to do a better job of, in the game mechanics, highlighting that wizards are meant to be the consummate scholars. That a huge part of their identity is that they are bookish folk. And so the new Scholar ability allows the wizard to select a skill from a list in the feature and have expertise in that skill. And the skills on the list are like Arcana, History, etc.
I do think it would be funny to play a wizard that's more like a gifted kid instead of a well-studied guy. So instead of a bookish like nerd, I hate to put it that way, I'm a bookish nerd. I feel like I'm allowed to say that. Instead of a bookish nerd, the wizard is just this like kind of a slacker. But anytime he does read a book or try to learn a spell from a scroll or something, he just has a very good memory. I think that would be really fun to role play as. It's like, oh, I'm not trying that hard to be a wizard, but I read this scroll and now I can cast Fireball because I memorized the scroll. He pretty much just has a photographic memory. Or what's that other one? There's another type of memory that's a little bit more impressive than photographic, but I think that would be a really cool character to role play as. And kind of steer away from that stereotype of wizards are bookish. Because I feel like there's not a lot of great ways to roleplay an intelligent guy without them becoming a little bit like a jock. Or just very aloof. Like they don't want to socialize because they never learned how to because they've been reading books. So I think that would be a really fun twist on the wizard.
All skills that are about being an expert in essentially an academic field. And we have often, in the story text for the wizard, talked about that aspect of wizards. We wanted to give the story some teeth in the rules, and hence the creation of.
I keep pausing for artwork, but that is a really cool picture right there. Because I love that I think that's Big B's hand, but I love that his hand is also blue because he's casting the spell to summon a blue hand. That is just such a cool little attention to detail thing that they did for this picture.
The Scholar feature. Now the wizard gets yet another brand new feature at 5th level, and this feature is called Memorize Spell. And again, leaning into the versatility of wizards, we gave them a bit more versatility. Memorize Spell now allows the wizard, when they finish a short rest, to swap out one of the level 1 or higher spells they have prepared for another one in their spell book. You know, if they know they have that one spell in their spell book that they really wish they had prepared, Memorize Spell will now allow them to do that.
And that's huge for any type of combat, like potential combat encounter, but or you are running into like something that's happening in a dungeon and you need to find a way to like get through this situation. That's perfect. That's what the wizard should be good at.
Yes, exactly. Otherwise,
I do really like that feature because you could take a short rest after like a big fight, knowing that you're going into the next room to fight a bigger enemy and swap for a more lethal spell. I really enjoy that.
the wizard in its bones is largely what people sort of know and love. We've made some tweaks in how we present some of the material in the wizard, but really the heart of the new material in the base class is even greater breadth and greater versatility. And then that sets up the 4 subclasses to be very well equipped to then do what they're great at, having such a firm, versatile base for their features to be built on.
So one of the very first subclasses is the Abjurer. Tell me about this. This is the one that is a lot about defensive magic.
Yes, the Abjurer is at
Is that the iconic elf fella up at the very top? His name starts with a D, but I don't know how to pronounce it. Cool guy. Dual swords. Kind of like Legolas swords, like a scimitar style. Love that. Is it scimitar or scimitar? Because I've heard it pronounced both ways. That doesn't matter to this video, but I'm just curious.
heart all about defending themselves and then ultimately also being able to defend others. And to aid them in their defensive capabilities, we've done a number of things both in the subclass itself, but also in the wizard's spell list. There are a number of spells that were previously not abjurations that now are.
Oh, interesting.
And we did this, because some of the spells we felt had been misclassified as other types of magic, and so we were correcting them, the spells themselves, making them abjurations. But this is also of practical
This picture gives like Storm vibes. She looks so cool.
importance to the Abjurer because it's casting abjuration spells that helps refresh their magical force field that absorbs damage.
Yeah.
And so that's another example of how the work that we've done in the spell chapter and in the wizard spell list has a powerful effect on how this subclass functions as well as the other wizard subclasses.
Absolutely.
Each of the 4 wizard subclasses now has a brand new version of their savant feature. That feature used to give the wizard a discount on scribing spells of that school into their spell book.
Right.
We found over the last decade that in actual play, this was rarely actually being used. Often people would forget they had it.
Yeah.
And even if they remembered they had it, it was not actually doing them a whole lot of good. So we wanted to give people something more concrete that not only would they enjoy, but also really help ensure that they were connected to their favorite school of magic. So in the Abjurer, Abjuration Savant, right away gives you 2 more abjuration spells that you get to add to your spell book for free.
Okay.
And then every time you level up thereafter as a wizard, you get an additional abjuration spell for free. And so we've taken this shtick, and that shtick is now in all 4 of the wizard subclasses, ensuring that if you're an Abjurer, Evoker, Illusionist, or Diviner, you are guaranteed every time you level up to get at least 1 spell that is associated with your favorite school of magic.
Okay, perfect.
So that makes that feature in all 4 of the subclasses far more useful, and again, does some important work in making sure that you are actually connected to your favorite school. Now, in the Abjurer's Arcane Ward, which is really their signature class feature, this is the feature where they get to conjure up a protective field of magic, and it can essentially take their damage for them.
Yeah.
We made what if a person's reading fast, they might miss it when they get to the feature, but we made a significant change to how the arcane ward works, and that is if your Abjurer has resistance, vulnerability, or immunity, those are now all applied before the arcane ward takes damage. Now, you'll be sad in the rare case of you having vulnerability and it being applied first. But most of the time, what this is going to mean is that if you have acquired resistance to a particular damage type, it now means your arcane ward can benefit from that resistance.
Absolutely.
And we then also applied that improvement to the projected ward feature that you get later, where you then have the ability to share your protection with friends. But in that case, rather than it being your resistance or vulnerability or immunity that's applied, it's theirs. So if, let's say, you're protecting your friend who has poison resistance and they take poison damage, their resistance to poison damage will kick in first, then the arcane ward will take the remaining damage. And then if there's still damage left over, then only then will it reach the person who's being protected.
Those are some good changes. I like that. I didn't realize that the Abjurer wizard had an arcane ward, because the only wizard I've ever played with played a Necromancer, so I didn't realize that was a thing, but I mean, sounds really cool.
The benefit of this is if you have an abjuration spell that can give you resistances like that, and you cast it, you are not only funneling energy into your shield, essentially, but you are also applying those resistances that spell would have to that damage at the same time. You're kind of gaming the system constantly. You're growing your shield and then making it more resistant at the same time, all in one.
Before you get to your level 14 feature, you actually get a brand new feature as an Abjurer called Spellbreaker. At level 10, Spellbreaker now makes it so that you always have the counterspell and dispel magic spells prepared, and you can cast dispel magic as a bonus action. And when you cast either of the spells with the spell slot, if the spell fails to either counter another spell or dispel a spell, your spell slot is not expended. This is the wizard who not only is, another spellcaster does not want to get into a spell duel with the Abjurer, but also dispel magic being a bonus action means if you're in one of those situations in the game where, sometimes there'll be a battle where there's a MacGuffin with some kind of magical protection, and most other characters would have to use their entire action to try to break that protection on it. The Abjurer can just walk up as a bonus action, try to shatter the spell, and still take their action to do something else.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, so Spellbreaker is a really exciting new feature for this subclass. And then at level 14, the Abjurer still gets their spell resistance that they had before.
That's very fun. Again, you're like honing in on what makes the Abjurer, that wish fulfillment, that fantasy that you would have, concrete.
Absolutely. We then had a similar approach with the Diviner, because the Diviner was in such fantastic shape in 2014. A very beloved subclass, a very effective subclass. So the main things that people who love playing Diviners have to look forward to is the improved Divination Savant, which like the Savant spells in the other subclasses, make sure that you always get some divination spells as you level up as a wizard. When you get up to level 10 and get the Third Eye ability, that you can now use this as a bonus action rather than an action. And we did this because we wanted you to be able to unlock the cool senses that this feature gives you, even in the midst of a battle, and not lose your whole turn doing it. We also fine-tuned and upgraded the options within the third eye. So the dark vision option, for instance, now extends to 120 feet. We did this partly because we now have some of the species in the book who have dark vision of 120 feet. We also combined some of the abilities that were present before under the third eye into one called simply now See Invisibility, which allows you now to cast the See Invisibility spell without expending a spell slot. So some nice quality of life improvements, particularly in that third eye feature that you get at level 10.
In the playtest for all of this, does combat feel significantly faster? It just feels like there's a new momentum because so many things are being shifted to a bonus action. Like it just feels like things are going to be moving so much quicker in D&D now.
So it varies depending on what characters do, and also some things that used to be bonus actions
Right.
are now actions, or are now a part of some other action.
Right.
So it really is been just a large holistic shuffling of things to try to get them to be in the right part of the action economy to keep things moving, but also to make it so that things feel like they are costing the right part of the action economy.
Right.
Often we'll make the change because something as an action just wasn't pulling its weight. And so then we either beefed it up so that it did pull its weight as an action, or we turned it into a bonus action or a reaction or not an action at all, and it just became something that happens as part of another action or at the start or end of your turn.
So, this does bring up the point. Todd brought up the point. Famously, wizards are known for taking too long in combat. They have so many spell options. You have to balance whether or not you want to do this attack spell as a full action, or if you want to beef up a party member as a full action. If you want to beef up yourself as a full action, I think like Mage Armor might be a full action. So wizards famously just take a long time because the spell list is normally significantly larger than the other spellcasters. I wish that Jeremy's answer had been, oh yeah, it speeds up combat most of the time. But no, the answer was, it kind of depends on the person, which means the wizards are still going to take a very long time in combat, which is one of my issues, other than the fact that I'm just super indecisive, about the fact that we are getting a bigger spell list for all of the spellcasters, because it means that combat is probably going to take at least a little bit longer.
Okay.
And so there are tweaks like that we made within the wizard, but through the entire game.
Okay, perfect.
So how about next we talk about the Evoker?
If you love dealing damage and also not destroying your entire party, this is the subclass for you. So
I don't care who's in my radius of fireball. If I was playing an Evoker, I'm just sending off a fireball.
terrified of what might have improved because it was already very strong.
So
Cool hat.
yeah, the Evoker and the Diviner were two of the most solid subclasses in the 2014 Player's Handbook, just in terms of delivering what they needed to deliver for their identity.
Yeah.
And so because of that, in each of these subclasses, our job was mostly don't mess anything up. And so in the Evoker, they get their Evocation Savant feature now. So again, like the other wizard subclasses, they're going to get supplied by evocation spells throughout their career as a wizard. But then we did make a major enhancement in the Potent Cantrip feature. Potent Cantrip used to pertain only to saving throws, and specifically saving throw cantrips. The issue is there were not a ton of those for evokers to use in the 2014 Player's Handbook, and even subsequent to that book, there were only a few. And
Right.
so what we did is we've made it so that potent cantrip now applies not just to cantrips you cast that involve a saving throw, but also ones that involve an attack roll. And now, when you cast those at a creature and you miss or the creature succeeds on its saving throw, you still deal half damage to them.
That's amazing.
This is really meant to point at the fact that the Evoker is in many ways the premier battle magician in the game, and better than pretty much anyone can ensure that they're going to deal a little bit of damage every time they take a turn if they're casting a damaging spell.
And this happens sooner, doesn't it?
This happens at level 3 when you get the subclass.
Yeah.
Now, the wizard subclasses, which used to kick in at level 2, now all kick in at level 3.
Right.
Again, because now all classes get their subclass at level 3.
Perfect.
Otherwise, the Evoker is the amazingly powerful and effective subclass that it always was.
Overchannel. Sculpt spell.
Yes. Yeah, with Sculpt spell continuing to be a really pivotal part of the Evoker's kit, because if you have a subclass that's all about bringing the boom, it sure is nice if they're not blowing up their friends.
Now, there are
Yeah, I guess they do get Sculpt spell. But I don't think there's an Evoker wizard that wouldn't still cast Fireball if the party members were within the radius. I mean, Fireball's just such a good spell.
some significant changes to a subclass that I actually quite love. That are
That's a magician right there. Look at that lady. She looks so cool. Wow, this might be my favorite picture of this video so far, with like the spectral magic cards and the spectral rabbit. It kind of gives, I mean, I know what this subclass is. This is the Illusionist, but it is still really cool.
new and exciting, and that is for the Illusionist.
Yes, the Illusionist, in addition to getting their Illusion Savant feature at
Right.
level 3, then right away has in the subclass 2 new features. There's one of them is also at level 3 called Improved Illusions, and then at level 6 they get a brand new feature called Phantasmal Creatures.
Yeah.
Following the Unearthed Arcana series and getting feedback on the Illusionist and also in our own playtests of the Illusionist, we felt that this subclass needed more. And so one of our goals with these new features is to make it so that the Illusionist is actually the best subclass at casting illusions. And so the Improved Illusions feature that they now get at level 3 is all about that. First, they can now cast their illusion spells without providing verbal components. We did this because we wanted an illusionist, if they want to be able to create illusions silently. And
I love that. That's really cool. That's a cool thing for an actual magician too. If you don't have to say anything, and then people are like, "Wow, he just conjured this this rabbit." They would think that you're a conjurer magician or a conjurer wizard, but which it doesn't seem like there is a conjurer wizard in this handbook, but that's a really cool feature.
in especially exploration and social situations in the game, this will be immensely helpful, because now, you know, the spell might have a somatic component, and so the illusionist might be twiddling their fingers but doesn't have to say anything
Yeah.
aloud. And so they might be able to cause an illusion to suddenly appear in a situation, and no one will know that it was that person over there who
Perfect.
did it. We've also made it in this same feature that any of the illusionist's illusion spells that has a range of at least 10 feet now has that range increased by 60 feet.
Oh, wow.
And so that also now means that illusionists can create their illusions in a much larger range than other characters can.
It'd be way more.
That is a huge increase by 60 feet. That's amazing. I love it, but that is a significant amount to increase that.
More tactical about distractions and things like that.
Exactly. So yeah, if someone else, has to have the illusion just within, 10 feet,
Yeah.
the illusionist can have their illusion 70 feet over there.
Perfect.
And giving them much more flexibility in how they essentially mess with people in a particular situation.
And harder to tell from that distance that is an illusion, right? Like just as if I was a dungeon master, like if there was an illusion of someone, 60 feet away, like how good is your your visual acuity at that point for you to identify that that is fake?
Yes.
Yeah, significantly less.
But improved in illusions has even more.
Okay.
So what it did before is it gave you the minor illusion cantrip.
Right.
So that also is included in the feature. That cantrip does not count against the number of cantrips that you know as a wizard. It just like it did in 2014, this feature lets you create both a visual and an audible illusion simultaneously with minor illusion, and you can cast minor illusion as a bonus action. And then at level 6, you get phantasmal creatures.
Yeah, this is really amazing.
And here, we wanted to give illusionists an ability that had a bit more combat teeth and also really helped fulfill that fantasy of, I create an illusory bear and it roars and creates havoc, and in addition to creating a distraction, can actually fight in battle. And so what Phantasmal Creatures does is it gives the illusionist the Summon Beast and Summon Fey spells. The illusionist always now has these two spells prepared. And by the way, here's another great example of how we were able to lean on the expanded spell chapter of this book to enhance our classes and subclasses, because Summon Beast and Summon Fey weren't in the 2014 Player's Handbook. They're new spells in the 2024 Player's Handbook, and so the illusionist can now benefit from them. And the
Is Summon Fey not just Conjure Fey? That's a spell, right? Are they saying it wasn't in the 2014 handbook, but it might have been introduced later? Because Conjure Fey exists. And I feel like it's probably similar.
illusionist now has the option of casting these two spells as normal, of conjuring up a beast or a fey creature, but the illusionist also has the option of changing the school of magic on these two spells from conjuration to illusion. And if the illusionist does that, you can cast the illusory version without expending a spell slot. But if you do that, the illusion has half as many hit points as the non-illusory version would have.
Right.
But what this basically
But
means...
you can still opt to do the full hit points if you want.
Yes, you can. But what this means is an illusionist can, once they reach level 6, cast Summon Beast and Summon Fey, each of those spells, once per day without expending a spell slot.
That is an incredibly good feature. I think it would probably be worth having less hit points to summon it as an illusion most of the time. If you're in a massive combat, or like a very difficult combat, I would say it's probably better to get the full hit points. But if you're using this for like a social situation, you're trying to make a distraction, something along those lines, summoning the one with less hit points would probably be more beneficial to you.
As long as you summon the illusory version of the beast or the fey.
Right.
So this is going to be a ton of fun, super useful, not only in combat, but even in exploration situations. If, say, you need one of these creatures to show up because it can fly, or, go get that thing over there, or, especially, hey, it's an illusion, don't feel bad about it.
I know.
It go step on that trap.
This is walking through the Tomb of Horrors one by one.
Yes. So this feature combined with improved illusions is really going to bring the illusionist to life, I think, in a way we haven't seen in 5th edition.
And you're using the stat blocks that are in those summoning spells, but you can make it look like anything you want, really, because you're an illusionist, right? Like, that's the flavor of it.
Because yeah, you can with these spells flavor how they look.
Yeah.
Now then at level 10, you still get the Illusory Self feature, which is the Illusionist's defensive ability, but a really nice set of enhancements we've made to the feature is first, we've made it so that it's triggered by you being hit by an attack rather than attack roll being simply made at you.
Yeah.
So you won't even be tempted to use it until it's really necessary
Yeah.
for you to use it. And then the other thing we did is we made it so that if you want, you can restore your use of this feature by expending a spell slot of level 2 or higher.
That's huge.
And especially at higher levels, wizards have a whole lot of spell slots.
Yeah.
And so the Illusionists, if they want to, can farm their spell slots to get more uses of Illusory Self.
That makes you a very defensible character.
And so all of these changes.
Illusory Self getting better is a huge thing. I do like that you can use your spell slot to regain it. At that level, you certainly have a decent number of level 2 spell slots. So I think that's a great feature. And it makes it so a class that is very easy to knock down has a little bit more protection.
Combined mean in many ways the Illusionist is a new subclass.
Yeah.
Because really the only part of the subclass that is largely the same as it was before is its capstone ability at level 14, Illusory Reality.
Which has always been amazing.
Yeah, and that's, we didn't want to touch that because it is such an iconic ability of the subclass of being able to, you know, and this is the example we give in the feature itself of create an illusory bridge with, you know, a spell that's able to create an illusion like that, and then use this feature to say, nah, it's a real bridge.
Yeah.
And have you and your companions cross it, and then, oh, maybe get other people, your foes, to try to follow you, and then, oh, whoops, it's back to being an illusion.
That is really cool. I didn't know that was a capstone ability. That is pretty sick.
I have been up to many shenanigans with that particular feature, both in villains and as a player. You know,
Ooh, an illusion wizard villain. I gotta write that down. I like that. I'm not a fan of the wizard class itself, but God, do I love a wizard villain. I'm actually writing this down. Do not tell my players. They do not watch these videos. So I feel like it's going to be okay. God, that's a good idea. If I ever record some TTRPG stuff, some actual play stuff, don't be surprised if there's an illusion wizard villain, because might happen now.
if you wanted to be a really nasty villain, you could have an entire room that is just, there's a spiked pit below, and you create the illusion of a floor that is real, and then if things pop off, you just cause everything to fall.
Oh, that's sick too. Oh no. Todd, what have you done to me? I really like that. I'm not going to use that exact thing, but it is a cool idea to have a trap hidden underneath a real illusion that you can dispel. That is so sick. Todd, you really speak to my heart sometimes. You know that?
Yeah, there's 1,000 uses for that. It's so good. And we also have more guidance about illusion magic as well, correct?
Yes, so in the rules glossary, there is now a section on illusions, and that section addresses some of the more common questions that come up about illusions, like, you know, simple things like how are they affected by the environment around them, but also as we reviewed all of the illusion spells in the book's massive spell chapter, we made sure to add in clarifications anywhere we felt the spell could be clearer about how its illusion worked. But also, again, some of that clarity isn't in those spells themselves, but in the new glossary entry on illusions. And that glossary, which I know we'll talk about in more depth in another video, really is going to be everyone's buddy at the game table.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about it now, not only because of the illusion section for Illusionists, but also how much of that rules glossary will be useful to wizard players and players of other spellcasters, because that rules glossary is going to define all the areas of effect that your spells deal with, all the conditions that your spells apply. There's guidance when it comes to spell casting in the rules glossary on teleportation, on telepathy, and on being dead, and what that means, which maybe when we get to the cleric video, we can dive into a little bit the rules glossary section on being dead.
Perfect. It's a great tease for the cleric video.
Yes.
I'll have to make that next. All right. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The new players.
Okay. So, I think they are making some great changes to the wizard. I don't have a lot of gripes here. There are two things I wanted to discuss, or a few things that I wanted to discuss. I guess more than two. First, we can talk about the illusion wizard that we just talked about. The entire time I've played D&D, I've never understood the purpose of playing an illusion wizard. It sounds cool. The flavor of it is cool because you are just creating illusions. I feel like you have to have a very strong party to be able to pull it off well, because you're not doing a lot of spells, or you're not doing a lot of damage with your spells. You're not buffing a lot of people. Its main purpose is distraction and like tricking people, pretty much, because you can distract them with the illusion itself. You can trick them into thinking there's like an object there. Maybe they, so like, for example, you could be in a chase scene. You make some illusion of boxes or something that look like they're blocking the alley you ran down. That way the person doesn't know where you went, kind of thing. There's purposes for it, but they are mostly not, they don't seem very good in combat. I do think these changes to the illusion wizard make them a lot better in combat, but I'm still not sure how I feel about it. I also feel like an illusion wizard could have been a bard class. Honestly, I think it would have been great, instead of an illusion wizard, make a magician bard that they excel with illusion magic because they're a magician. They still have some of the core bard spells. So things like Vicious Mockery, Dissonant Whispers, stuff along those lines. They have advantage in sleight of hand, which would make them a better like thief bard. They have high charisma, which would make them good with like persuasion and everything. Because they are used to performing, it would make sense with the bard famously having high performance checks. I think a magician bard would be better than an illusion wizard. And the reason I'm bringing this up is my next point. Why did they get rid of the Necromancer? And honestly, the Conjurer wizard, it's odd that they got rid of that. I don't like the Conjurer wizard because I think it's weird to have an entire class focus on conjuration. But the Necromancer was so cool, guys. Did we need to get rid of the Necromancer? Are we moving it to a different class? Because it would make sense to have it like a cleric, maybe. But I liked the flavor of a like necrotic wizard. Like you focus on necromancy spells. So things like false life, chill touch, stuff like that. You have raise the dead, what's the name of that spell? Toll of the Dead, stuff like that. That would be very good for a necromancer. You have that flavor of being able to summon undead to help fight alongside you. You have that darkness that comes with this subclass, but it also has that wizard flavor of you studied for your entire life to become a necromancer. And I feel like a necromancer would be very good as a villain arc for either a player or the BBEG of a campaign, where it's a necromancer that the goal in life is to take it a step farther and go from necromancer to lich. So I'm not happy that we don't have a necromancer class. I feel like you could have, like I said, Illusion Wizard could definitely be a Magician Bard instead. I might look into making a Magician Bard subclass. That sounds really fun. But I also think that they might have been able to get rid of the Diviner. The Divination Wizard is not very widely used from what I can tell. I feel like people would like the Necromancer better than a Divination Wizard. And I feel like it's more useful than an Illusion Wizard. I'm not trying to dog on either of those classes. I think this video did a great job of illustrating the very positive changes to both of them. But the Necromancer is such an iconic wizard class, and it would have been nice to retain that. Otherwise, I don't really have bad feedback about this. I'm just going to miss that class. As a DM who has players that have been interested in Necromancers, and as a possible player, it might have been cool to play a Necromancer one day, even though I'm not a huge fan of the wizard class overall. The Necromancer has a lot of cool flavor to it that I think is fun to play with. I do understand it before anybody says anything in the comment section. 5e is supposed to be backwards compatible with this. You can still play Necromancer. I just would have liked the Necromancer with the improvements that were brought about by the 2024 Player's Handbook. So other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this video, you can leave a like. Every like is appreciated. You can comment if you have any different opinions about this, if you just want to agree with me, or if you want to have a discussion. I try to respond to comments. If you did like this video, subscribe to the channel. We are going to be reviewing all of the videos that they post about the 2024 Player's Handbook as they are released. Wizards of the Coast is really outpacing me with these videos, but that's okay. And you can hit the notification bell if you want to get notified when these videos are posted. That way you can watch them on release. Other than that, I hope everybody is having a great day or night or whatever time it is where you are right now. And until next time, peace.